So welcome back, all of you. Is the screen visible? Are the PPTs visible?
हाँ sir.
Okay, thank you, Vishal. So welcome back to our class of plant physiology. Today's our topic is Ascent of Sap. From this portion, Ascent of Sap, another important physiological process in plants. Okay, you see, ascent means the upward movement. Descent means downward movement. Ascent is upward movement, and sap means the liquid which contain water in which some salts are dissolved, some mineral salts are dissolved, because we have seen in case of water absorption where in water is absorbed from the soil, and that soil water is not pure water, it is not pure solvent, but some salts are also dissolved in that, and therefore we call it as soil sap or soil solution. Similarly, inside the cell there is water in which some salts are dissolved, so it is called as cell sap. So sap means the water or any liquid in which some mineral salts or some minerals or salts are also dissolved in that. It is not a pure water, but there is more amount of solvent but less amount of salts or less amount of solute is there, so it is called as sap. And this is called as ascent of sap, when this sap or soil water, soil solution move inside the plant in upward direction. Because we have seen in the last chapter, a large amount of water is absorbed from the soil through the root system, and we also know that very small amount is being utilized. 1 to 2% of water is used by the plant for its own metabolism, and rest of the water is lost from the plant body, from the aerial parts of plant in the form of water vapors, and that process is called as transpiration. So water is absorbed by roots and water is evaporated by the leaves by transpiration. So in between these two processes, there is one more process, important physiological process inside the plant body, and that is called as ascent of sap, in which the absorbed water by the roots has to be transported. It is moved. It is translocated in upward direction from roots to different parts of the plant body, like stem, the branches, leaves, and all other parts of the plant body up to the tip of the plant body, up to the top portion of the plant body. Water or sap moves in upward direction, and this movement is called as ascent of sap. So we can define ascent of sap as the upward movement of water from roots to the tip of the plant body, and this is usually against the gravitational force, against the force of gravity, and against the friction caused by water in xylem vessels. So this is a general definition of ascent of sap. This is the upward movement. Ascent means upward movement. Sap means water with some salts dissolved. Upward movement of water from roots to the tip of the plant against the force of gravity. This is important. Against the gravitational force. This movement is against the gravitational force and against the friction caused by water in xylem vessel, because we know xylem is water conducting tissue. Okay. Now, for studying ascent of sap, two aspects are considered. The first aspect is what is the path of ascent of sap? What is the pathway of ascent of sap? And second aspect is what is the actual process, how it occurs inside the plant body, inside the living plant, how the mechanism of ascent of sap is there. What is the physiological process? So two aspects are considered for studying ascent of sap process in plants. Okay. Now, initially it was not known that what is the pathway of ascent of sap, but nowadays it is very well known fact that xylem are water conducting tissue. Ascent of sap takes place through xylem, and phloem are food conducting tissue. So whatever food material is synthesized inside the leaves, it is transported towards the storage region, usually roots, through the phloem, and that is called as translocation of food. So that can be called as descent of food material. Though it is a two-directional process, but this is a single directional process from lower side to upper side in upward direction. So this is ascent of sap, which occurs through xylem, and we studied that xylem is a complex tissue made up of 4 different types of cells like tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem sclerenchyma, of which xylem parenchyma is simple, living, thin-walled, meant for storage of food material. Xylem sclerenchyma is simple, non-living or dead tissue, thick-walled, made up of lignin because it is lignified tissue, giving mechanical strength to the xylem. And the main translocating elements of xylem are tracheids and vessels. Tracheids are smaller cells which are without any perforation at the end, and they are usually present in gymnosperms. Gymnosperms lack vessels, but vessels are the main organs of transportation of water and sap in higher plants like angiosperms, which consist of different vessel elements which are perforated and joined end to form a pipeline type structure, and through these pipes there is conduction of water or sap inside the plant body. So there are different evidences suggesting that pathway of ascent of sap is the xylem. There are different experiments like ringing experiment, staining experiment, paraffin blocking experiments, but we are not going to discuss this into much detail because this is not in your syllabus. And I just wanted to give you the idea that xylem is the pathway of ascent of sap. Therefore, we have written this. Okay, see here, Sequoia, Semper Virens. This is the tallest plant of the world. This is the tallest tree of the world, having a height of 379 meters. That is equal to 115.5 meters. 115.5 meters is the height of this plant. This is a living plant. This is the tallest plant of the world. So the question arises as to, for such a huge plant, for such a large or big size, big height plant, what could be the mechanism? What are the forces responsible for ascent of sap? What is the machinery there? What is the pressure? What are the forces inside the plant body that are responsible for carrying water from roots to the tip of the plant body, this plant, up to height of 115 meters? That is to be studied under mechanism of ascent of sap. Pathway of ascent of sap is clear, but the mechanism, actual mechanism of ascent of sap in plant, it is still not clear today, but it is studied by different theories which have been put forth by scientists from time to time. And these theories can be grouped into different categories like vital theories proposed by 2 different scientists, physical force theories. There are different types of physical force theories, then root pressure theory, and cohesion-tension theory or transpiration pull theory. Okay, now vital theories consider that ascent of sap is a vital process. That is, this is controlled by the living cells of the plant body. The forces responsible for ascent of sap develop inside the living cells of the plant body. So that is called as vital theories, proposed by Godlewski and great Indian scientist Dr. Jagdish Chandra Bose theory. But again, we are not going to discuss this in much detail because it is not in our syllabus. Physical force theory as opposed to the vital theory. Physical force theories for ascent of sap consider that the forces responsible for ascent of sap are non-living forces. They are physical forces, and they are responsible for ascent of sap, such as capillary action or atmospheric pressure. You know that it is assumed that with the pressure of 1 atmosphere, the water column can be lifted up to 34 feet, that is 10 meters. With the pressure of, you keep it in mind, with the pressure of 1 atmosphere, water can be raised up to height of 10 meters. So in very smaller plants or herbaceous plants, this theory can be good, atmospheric pressure theory. And therefore, such a different theories are proposed, but these all theories are having their some merits as well as demerits. And that is the reason why most of these theories have been refuted, they are discarded, and next theories have been put forth. Similarly, root pressure theory, this is a combination of vital and physical force theory, which consider that ascent of sap is under the control of some living activities inside the cell, root cells, as well as some non-living forces working inside the cell of the plant, that is root pressure. Okay, again, we are not going to discuss this in much detail because these theories, vital force, physical force, and root pressure theory, are also removed from your syllabus. There is only one important theory that is a part of your syllabus, and this theory is cohesion-tension theory, also called as CT theory or transpiration pull theory. So we'll have our emphasis on this theory. We'll discuss this theory in much detail. Okay. Theory of ascent of sap, transpiration pull theory or cohesion-tension theory, also called as Dixon-Joly theory, the name of the proponent, scientist Dixon-Joly. Okay, this theory was proposed in 1894, more than 100 years ago, by two scientists. One is Henry Dixon and his friend John Jolie. The name is Jolie. His surname is Jolie, not Jolie. Here is mistake. Henry Dixon, he was a botanist, and John Jolie, his friend, he was a physicist. So Dixon was concerned with the living processes inside the plant, whereas Jolie was concerned with the non-living processes, physical forces that are responsible. So as they were friends, they proposed this very nice, scientifically proven or widely accepted, most valid theory, considered most valid theory today. This is called as transpiration pull theory or CT theory, cohesion-tension theory, proposed by these two friends, Dixon and Jolie, in 1894. And in 1914, Dixon further modified the theory by some improvements he made in the theory. Now, while proposing the theory, Dixon-Joly, they were having four assumptions, four important points for this theory. The very first important point is cohesion, force of cohesion. The second important point or second important assumption was force of adhesion. Next important point or assumption was continuity of water column. And the last important point was transpiration pull. We have to discuss this theory under these four important assumptions: force of cohesion, force of adhesion, continuity of water column inside the plant body, and transpiration pull. Okay. We will have the first one, force of cohesion. You know what is cohesion? The force of attraction between two similar molecules is called as cohesion, whereas the force of attraction between two different molecules is called as adhesion. So here what happens? You know, there is a force of cohesion between two water molecules. Water molecules are having a very special, unique physical property, and that is called as cohesive property, force of cohesion. There is a strong force of attraction between two water molecules due to their hydrogen bonds. Usually hydrogen bonds are considered not very strong. They are not very strong bonds, but when their number is very high, as in case of water molecules, this force of attraction or hydrogen bonding becomes very strong. So these are very strong forces, very strong bonds which are present in water molecules, and that is the reason why it is not possible to separate two water molecules easily. This is very strong force of attraction, and that is called as force of cohesion. And due to this force of cohesion, there is formation of you see a column of water. You see, you can, if you add some drops of water on the floor, and if you try to join them in a single line, immediately they will form a continuous flow. They will form a continuous column. That is due to this force of cohesion, strong attraction between two water molecules. This is called as cohesion, force of cohesion. The second property of water molecule is force of adhesion, the attraction between two different molecules. For example, there is attraction between water molecules and some other molecules, the molecules which are present in the inner side of the cell wall of xylem vessels. Xylem vessel, the cell wall is made up of cell wall, primary layer is made up of cell wall, but there is secondary layer, and that is formed by another polysaccharide, another carbohydrate, and it is called as lignin. Now this lignin is a polysaccharide which is hydrophilic. It is having affinity for water. So there is a strong force of attraction between water molecules and lignin molecules. And as these two molecules are different, this force of attraction is called as adhesion. So these adhesive forces are again due to hydrogen bonds formed by the negative sides of water molecules and positive sides of these lignin molecules. And this force of attraction is also strong. Its magnitude is about 50 atmosphere, which gives a very tensile strength to this union. The force of cohesion is having a magnitude of 300 atmosphere, whereas the force of adhesion, that is the attraction between water and lignin molecules, is of magnitude of 50 atmosphere. Now, due to these two properties, force of cohesion and force of adhesion, there is a continuity of water column. Continuous water column is formed from the roots to the tip of the plant body inside the xylem vessel. And this continuity of water column also exists in xylem vessels due to adhesion. And this is having a high magnitude of 350 atmosphere due to cohesive force of 300 atmosphere and adhesive force of 50 atmosphere. This water column is having a magnitude of force of 350 atmosphere. There is a continuous water column inside the xylem. As you can see here, these are water molecules. These two water molecules are having attraction with each other. Again, this one, due to hydrogen bonding between them, they are stick together, they move together due to cohesion, and they are also attached to the inner walls of these lignin or xylem vessels due to adhesion. So due to force of cohesion and due to force of adhesion, there is a formation of continuous column of water inside the xylem vessels from the xylem of leaves to the xylem of root through the xylem of stem. So this is xylem of leaf, this is xylem of stem, and this is xylem of root. There is formation of continuous column of water inside the xylem. Now you see, the next important point, transpiration pool. I told you 4 important assumptions: cohesion, adhesion, continuity of water column, and transpiration pool. Now what is transpiration pool? Now you see, when transpiration takes place at the aerial surfaces, at the surfaces of the leaves, when water is removed from the leaves through stomata due to transpiration by evaporation, when water is lost in the form of water vapors from leaves through stomata due to transpiration, there is water deficit, there is water loss, and therefore DPD, diffusion pressure deficit of mesophyll cell increases. Their osmotic pressure increases. They become water deficit. There is a sort of formation of tension. There is sort of formation of suction force or suction pressure. So that tension or suction force, which is of magnitude of 20 atmosphere, it is transported to the xylem of leaf, because mesophyll cells are in contact with xylem of leaf, and xylem of leaf is in contact with xylem of stem, and xylem of stem is having contact with the xylem of root. So there is a continuous xylem vessels, like pipeline, which is running from the roots up to the leaf, up to the tip of the plant body. From roots, stem to the tip, there is a continuous column of xylem through which, inside which there is a continuous water column. So whatever DPD, whatever tension, whatever suction force is created, that is transported due to this continuity. You can see here that tension created due to transpiration at the upper surface, it is transmitted in downward direction. You can see here like this. Tension is transmitted. It is transmitted in downward direction. Tension which is created at the upper surface due to transpiration, water loss. Here is a leaf, here is a root, here is a stem, and this is a continuous water column. These are xylem vessels. So tension created here due to water loss is transmitted in downward direction, and that is the reason why the continuous water column is lifted, pulled in upward direction to replace the water which is lost by transpiration. So continuous water, the entire water column is lifted. You can see here. It is like this. Can you see? This is the entire water column. Cohesion, they are stick together. Adhesion, they are sticking to the cell walls, and the entire water column goes upward like this, and thus ascent of sap takes place due to cohesion, adhesion, continuity of water column and transpiration pull or suction force which is created at the surface of leaves due to transpiration. So it is like this. Can you see here? When there is sun providing energy, there is evaporation of water from the leaf surface, and that is called as transpiration. When there is water loss, the water they gain from the leaf surface, the xylem of leaf, which is in contact with the xylem of stem, and this xylem of stem is in contact with the xylem of root, and this xylem of root then draw water from the soil water. So this is a passive method of water absorption. We have studied this passive method of water absorption in which the phenomenon of transpiration is important here. So for the sake of our convenience, for the understanding purpose, I have divided this into root, stem, and leaf xylem. Otherwise, there is a continuous column. There is a complete unbroken column here, like this entire column: leaf, stem, and root. Are you getting? The same here. Transpiration pull theory or cohesion-tension theory. Due to tension here, and this tension has been found by scientists. It is of the magnitude of 20 atmosphere. Tension of 20 atmosphere is created due to transpiration, and 20 atmosphere is high enough to draw water up to the height of how much? 1 atmosphere. A pressure of 1 atmosphere can lift the water column up to 10 meters. Therefore, the pressure of 20 atmosphere which is created here is sufficient to lift the water column up to the height of 200 meters. Water can go from roots to the tip of the plant body up to the height of 200 meters. And just now we have seen that the tallest tree of the world, according to Guinness Book of World Record, is having a height of just 115.5 meters, Sequoia sempervirens. So this theory is satisfactorily providing the solution for the proper mechanism of ascent of sap, even in the tallest plant of the world. But there are some evidences and there are some objections to this theory. What are the evidences? What are the supporting points of this theory of ascent of sap? The first is the rate of transpiration and the rate of water absorption are approximately equal. Higher the rate of transpiration, higher will be the water absorption. And when there is higher transpiration, there is higher water absorption, there will be higher ascent of sap, isn't it? Because all these processes are related with one another. And it has been found that the water which is absorbed by passive method due to transpiration, due to which ascent of sap takes place, it is up to 98% of the total water absorbed by the plant. Whereas just 2% of water is absorbed by active method of water absorption in the plant body. So this is the main method of water absorption. And therefore, there is the process of ascent of sap, the upward movement of water from roots to the tip of the plant body. Now here again, another evidence, another supporting point is tension or transpiration pull is of the magnitude of 20 atmosphere, and therefore there is lifting of water column up to the height of 200 meters, isn't it? It is also found that ascent of sap process takes place even when the cut shoot, the cut stem is placed in water. There is movement of water in upward direction, even in absence of roots. So this also suggests that there is a relation between transpiration, there is a relation between what ascent of sap and the passive method of water absorption. Again, due to force of cohesion and force of adhesion, which gives very tensile strength to the water column, that is xylem sap, which is present inside the xylem vessel. So this tensile strength of 350 atmosphere is sufficient to resist the tension, the transpiration tension, which is coming from the upward direction, as well as the gravitational pull, which can break the water column from downward direction. So this tensile strength resists both the transpiration pull tension as well as the gravitational pull, which is coming from downward direction. And there is continuous water column existing inside the xylem vessel. What happens? There is diurnal phenomenon called as contraction and relaxation. When transpiration is there during daytime, there is a rate of transpiration is very high. There is ascent of sap due to this theory. What happens? Due to tension created on the water column, due to water loss, due to transpiration, what happens? There is a contraction of the xylem vessels, and therefore there is contraction of stem during daytime. And when there is no transpiration, there is no tension on the water column, there is relaxation of xylem vessels. Stem becomes relaxed. So this phenomenon of contraction and relaxation, it is a rhythmic process. It is occurring day and night time. So this is called as diurnal phenomenon, and this has been observed by scientists using an instrument called as dendrometer. So this again suggests that there is a presence of this transpiration pull or tension on the water column which is present inside the xylem vessels. Another evidence is that this is just a physical process. This is due to the energy coming from the sunlight, isn't it? Due to sunlight, there is transpiration, there is evaporation. So energy inside the plant body is not required for performing the function of ascent of sap. There is no need of expenditure of metabolic energy. So this is simple physical process. Only the objection to this theory is that there is formation of air bubbles sometimes which are coming inside the water column. So they may break the continuity of water column according to some scientists. But some another scientist like Schlander in 1957 disapproved or overruled this objection by stating that there are side channels because there are so many vessels, xylem vessels running parallel to each other, and when there is a problem of air bubbles, then this this water column may gain side channels through the lateral pits which are present on the xylem vessels, and when the air bubbles are dissolved, again they regain their original channel. So there is no problem. And the more important objection is that tension which is mentioned to be present on the water column, it is still not confirmed experimentally in intact plants. In living plants, this tension has not been confirmed. So that is the objection. So these are some of the references which I have used with some original papers on this process. Thank you very much. Now you can have your questions. Okay, any questions? Any problem? Someone has raised. Yes, no problem. Any question? Ascent of sap, transpiration pull theory, cohesion-tension theory, CT theory. Am I audible? No problem. Okay. Shall I end it? Shall I end the meeting? Am I audible or not? Yes, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can post it on our WhatsApp group. No problem. So I'm going to end now. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.